Hello, everyone. I'm Lonnie with Untitled Nerd Network, brought to you by Infinity Flux, who is somewhere. I still haven't went and saw them, but they're out here on the dealer's floor somewhere. Here at Metrotham Con on day one, and we got 2 more days after this, and I'm starting out big today. I've got the X-Men with me. From this side, Oh, y'all, you know what? Y'all actually...
This is backwards.
Yeah, y'all are setting...
Over there.
Y'all are setting opposite.
Speaking of this accent. What am I doing over there? I feel like I should be over here where Beast is.
Thanks for pointing that out. But y'all are okay. So, well, I just went totally off the rails.
Oh, that's good.
No, we're good. We're good. This is good.
I like it already.
Okay, so over here we have Dodd, who did the voice of Wolverine. Lenore Zann. Am I pronouncing the last name correctly?
Yep.
Voice of Rogue, and George Buza.
You got it right.
Okay, it's very rare that I bat 1,000. Who did the voice of Beast, and I appreciate you guys being color coded for my. That's really going to help me. So.
All right. And I wore my cowboy boot, my new Texas cowboy boots for you too. Oh, look, we're wearing our cowboy boots.
Do you have?
Yes.
Do you have?
I don't wear cowboy boots.
No.
Pants are running up my arse. Oh, sorry.
So,
Up my boot, I mean.
it seems like you all have done voices. Seems like maybe on a cartoon I watched.
Maybe.
No, I just wear this clothing because I like the colors.
Yeah, I like that X-Men logo, by the way.
Back of it, though.
Oh yeah, it's a great. They can see your bum there.
I'm mooning.
Oh, there you go.
You are. You did.
I know,
Wolverine.
and Beast is the same thing on the back.
But I won't moon it.
What's his?
I'm not mooning
his
anybody
character.
today.
His character's not on the back of his jacket.
I
I'm Wolverine.
See what I have to put up with these guys?
He has me on the back of his jacket too.
Yep. There
so
you go.
we have Beast, Rogue, Wolverine, and like the number one thing that I've always wanted to ask you guys is how well do your own personal personalities match the characters that you portrayed?
According to my wife, I am him. The guy in the back.
Yeah.
And I feel that way.
Watch the claws.
With sans clause, sans French for without. Yeah, she says he
Watch
is
the
Wolverine.
claws,
And
yeah.
emotionally in the way of, I don't know. I like him.
You read classic literature and hang by your feet?
I don't hang by my feet anymore, but I did read a lot of classic literature. And everybody says that I was Beast the way that he was written in real life.
Look at you.
Well, I'm not blue.
Well,
No.
you got a blue jacket. You're right.
Yeah.
Blue.
Well, I picked that at the end
No, but
because
the whole
I
thing.
was blue.
Face, the whole thing.
They have amazing hair dyes now. You could really look the part.
Oh yeah.
If you
Yeah.
really...
Well, I think now I have the market cornered on gray.
So
He just needs to get the skin color blue now. But yeah, with Rogue, I definitely feel like her. I don't like drain people of all their life forces when I touch them, but I do feel that as a young woman, I was very lonely. I still am kind of a loner, but I traveled around the world kind of looking for my purpose in life. And I can very much relate to Rogue in that way, and in feeling just a little bit different, and always trying to search for who am I really and why am I the way I am. And I think a lot of young people can relate to that too.
And man, if you kiss her,
Yeah, watch out.
watch out for sure.
I never
Oh. I don't like. I'm going to be honest with you guys. Like, I don't want to go completely fanboy here, but it's taken everything I've got to hold myself together right
Aw,
now. I'm.
that's so sweet.
It is. I mean, it's not sweet.
It's sweet. It's very sweet.
I just
to
had the
me.
voice of Rogue tell me that I'm sweet.
Oh my goodness.
Oh, so I've noticed from just the little bit of time that I've spent with you guys over the last couple of minutes, I seem like you kind of have to do kind of the Batman route, where that Wolverine was not your natural speaking voice. You kind of took it down a little bit. And so that
I've noticed when I watch some of the episodes now, I have to bring it up. because well, I was much younger then, obviously, and my voice has deepened as it does with age, and so I found that I had to bring him up, and because he was more there, like more, this is for you, as opposed now it's a bit lower, so the timbre's different, but yeah, normally my voice, I normally speak up here.
I'll say you seemed
And it's really a lot deeper, the Wolverine voice.
Seemed a little more sophisticated than Wolverine. Wolverine doesn't really strike me as I don't know where I'm going with this.
Well, and he was, he didn't carry a dictionary around, right? Unlike Beast. He was not like erudite. He was not like Beast. No, God, that's not a bad thing. He was his own guy and went his own way. And he's like a guy for loner.
Yeah.
Much like Rogue,
Yeah.
very much a loner. And, and that was, I would go to Jingles and take a crossword just so I wouldn't have to talk to other singers. And that's true. And they'll attest to that. Because I just like to be left alone.
So
And my voice is pretty much the same as Rogue,
I
except without the accent. I mean, I'm from Australia originally, so I was born with an Australian, well, I wasn't born with an Australian accent, I learnt an Australian accent as a kid. But then we moved to Canada when I was 8, and then I became an actor at 15. So I never really got a Canadian accent, and I started playing Americans very young. And so my accent became more American than Canadian, interestingly enough. So, yeah. But the Southern accent I put on for Rogue, but it comes very naturally. And I've played a lot of Southerners in movies and television, which is why they cast me as Rogue.
Well, I'll tell you, my Southern drawl is all natural.
I love it.
So I can hear Beast, but
We use natural. My natural voice is Beast.
that's awesome. So
And I've been playing Americans all my life because I was born in Cleveland.
So the story of how the cartoon came together has been told a million times, but you guys, from what I understand, they really kind of went through several iterations of casting.
For some characters.
For some,
Some of us got cast right away.
Okay.
But a few of the characters they kept trying new people.
Okay. What?
Storm, for instance.
I want to ask everybody's individual story as to, how you ended up voicing some iconic characters that really defined a lot of kids' childhoods.
Okay, I started first the last time, so I might as well
You
continue
might as well
on.
continue.
If we did this at like 9 o'clock in the morning, I would be down much lower and stuff. So, in answer to your other question about you sound higher normally. Anyway, I got a call from this agent. I didn't have a voice agent. I got a call from this girl who was casting Karen Gura. Out of the blue, phoned me for some strange reason because I was a singer, not a voice actor. I'd never done any voice acting. I'd probably done one voiceover commercial. Actually, I had. That was it. And I said she said for X-Men. And I said, what's that? And she told me, so I went to the audition at Claire Burt. Is that where it was? That's where it was, Claire Burt, across from the Eaton Center. He doesn't remember.
Remember.
He doesn't remember the audition.
In Toronto, on Yonge
That's
Street.
from hanging upside down there, Beast. Anyway, so I went in, they gave me the part to read, showed me a picture of him, short guy, and they told me who they thought. They said, think about Clint Eastwood, of course. Mm-hmm. Clint Eastwood. Ward Bond was a reference, and Steve McQueen.
Oh,
I
right.
like to think. I love Steve McQueen
I do
because
too.
he's very loner and very quiet. Didn't
I
say
love
a lot.
Steve
I love
McQueen.
Steve McQueen. So I'm thinking of all these people, and now read the part. And I stuck in a bit of Wolfman Jack, baby.
Oh,
Put in some
that's
Wolfman
good
Jack
too.
into the thing.
Right.
Yeah.
Ah.
All right, baby.
Right,
So put some of that
right.
into it. And the line was like, you like picking on people smaller than you? Pick on me, pal. I'm smaller than you. And I knew who that guy was. Grew up in a small town. Heard that line many times, and amongst other lines that they gave to Wolverine, like, anytime, pretty boy. That kind of stuff where I was growing up was normal language. And they just sort of all went, wow, okay, we'll be in touch.
Wow.
And I went home and they phoned me the next day. They said,
you
you're
had it.
Wolverine. And I said, whoever he is. Really, seriously, we did not know what the X-Men was or who,
No. We weren't really told. Actually, they called it the X Project in the beginning.
Yeah.
We didn't even know. We knew it was a show, a cartoon series, but we didn't know what it was. We didn't know who these people were. We were just shown the pictures of the characters and told to voice it the way we thought that this character would sound.
So did you have like comic books or anything?
Well, I read comic books when I was a kid.
Okay.
And I read X-Men comics, and I think I knew that Project X was about X-Men because Beast was an X-Man. And for my voice, they just said to use your natural voice, but the guy is an English professor. He's a student of literature, so that as opposed to eliding words or making it more slangy or conversational, Beast was more precise with his pronunciations to show that he was a proper English student and someone who was very well read. And that was the only alteration that I did to my ordinary speech.
Love it. Did you like the fact that Beast was, I've heard Stan Lee say it so many times, when they were creating the characters, about how he was such kind of a rough-looking character, yet also the most articulate.
Yes, he was the most articulate. He was also the voice of reason in a lot of the cases. Wolverine would immediately want to respond to a situation violently, and Beast would be the one who would oftentimes hold him back and saying, let's attack this from a different position. But Beast was also capable of violence if he was pushed to the limit. He could respond very violently and defend himself quite adequately.
Oh, yeah.
Did you all become fans of the comic or any of that, the properties, after the fact? Like, did you kind of follow it?
Oh yeah, I started. I would go out and look for any comic books. I just read Superman growing up, and Archie, and Jughead.
Archie, now I wouldn't admit that.
Really? No, yeah, no, so Superman was my hero, and I didn't. But I started buying X-Men just to see what the comics were about, because what we were doing was some old comic books. Everything was based on the comic book thing. So I just wanted to see what he was like in the comics, what he looked like.
I'm going to tell you all, and I'm sure you've probably heard this a number of times over the years, but when I read comics, and Lord knows I've read a few, even after the movies and even after the other cartoons, I still, when I read the characters, I hear them in my head as your voices. It does. I can't get it out. You guys have
I've heard that many times.
Yeah, we've heard that from a lot of people, especially in the last week since we've been doing these conventions. But it's funny because I didn't read the comics. I'd never read comics when I was a kid. I didn't. I read a lot of books, but it was interesting.
They have pictures in them?
No, I didn't read those kind of books.
Come on, honey.
But listen, what I was told when I was asked to audition for it was that I'd never really done cartoons before. I'd done one show before called Stunt Dogs, and I played a character called Sizzle, who also had a southern accent. But my agent said that they were looking for real actors. They didn't want cartoony type voices. They didn't want people who just do cartoons, because there's a group of actors in LA and every other city and in Toronto who mainly just do voiceovers. They didn't want those people this time. They wanted real, serious actors who did theater, movies, television, whatever.
There you go.
Because they wanted these people to be able to really delve deeply into their souls, to be able to put that into the voices of these characters. And I think that when people say that they love these characters and the voices so much, it's because of that. Most of us are really quite serious actors. I didn't do the first auditions, the first time out, because I wasn't used to doing cartoons, and they didn't really mean much to me. I mainly was focused on my career in theater, film, and television. So I missed the first auditions, even though I was asked to audition. But then by the time the final callbacks came, they were still really, really looking for Rogue. They'd found a lot of these guys who they thought would be perfect for the other characters, but they hadn't found Rogue yet. And my agent said, Lenore, it's because you are Rogue. I know it's you. So please get your ass down there. Excuse my language. Get your ass down there and do the audition.
You could say ass on Untitled Nerd
Okay,
Network.
That's good. Okay.
You can say it
Order in
all
the
day.
swear jar.
Okay. So anyway, I went to the callbacks. I went in the booth, and I did the very first paragraph that they gave me. I looked at the character. I went, oh yeah, they wanted sexy, husky, Southern accent.
Book them.
Right?
down.
So I just did. My daddy liked to kill himself when he found out I was a mutant, and that
I
was
just got
basically
chills
it,
when
right?
you did that.
Yeah. So that's when the guys in Los Angeles, they were in the booth in LA, and I heard them say on the headphones, "Don't let her leave. That's her. That's the one we've been looking for." And then the rest is history.
I do. I love hearing it. Yeah, I want to ask a question of you, being Beast, and you do read literature. And do you have a favorite book?
No.
Oh, well,
No, I really don't. I was an English major when I was in university. Even though I knew I wanted to be an actor, I had to do that to please my parents. And it goes back to even when I was reading comic books. I would always buy a copy of Classics Illustrated, and then have a copy of either X-Men or another superhero comic inside. And I'd be reading, oh, see, Mom, I'm reading Ivanhoe. Because the parents didn't really approve of reading comic books or collecting baseball cards. It was frivolous, and I should have been concentrating on more serious things.
Little did they know.
Little did they know.
Those comic books, baby.
That's right. And now it ends up paying the bills. But no, I never had a favorite book. I read all kinds of different books. I don't have a real favorite anything. It's whatever's out there in the moment, as it were.
that's always like the go-to question, though. What's your favorite this? What's your favorite that? I need to really kind of think outside the box on this. Speaking of favorites, do y'all have a favorite episode?
Well, that I do, yes.
Oh, yeah, here we are.
It was Beauty and the Beast.
I can absolutely, that is one of the better episodes of season 2. That was, I think, one of the first ones that really showed the real personal side of bigotry
Yeah.
Yes.
in that episode.
And also, as an actor who's of large stature and played the heavy a lot of times, I never got a chance to play the love scenes or to have any kind of a romantic character with another character. So that was a nice departure from what I usually got to do, which was either fight scenes or some sort of, intellectual thing. There was a moment where I could actually interplay with somebody and have emotional contact.
I know there was actually a scene, I believe it was in one of the very recent, 2001, I think, in an X-Men comic where Beast had transformed into like more of a cat. And his girlfriend, Trish Kilby, that he was dating at the time, broke up with him over the phone because she couldn't stand to see his face as a feline. He was still just as smart and, same Henry McCoy.
Yeah.
But she was afraid of him because of the way his eyes looked and
That'd
his
be Hank
teeth.
to you, by the way, pal.
Yeah.
Henry McCoy. That's Hank to you.
But it seems like he always just had horrible luck in love,
Which is why that's my favorite episode. Because as an actor, I never got to play characters like that. Kissing girls wasn't really on the menu.
And actually, if you think about it, all three of our characters didn't have much luck in love because,
True.
well, my character can't be close to anybody. She can't be intimate with anybody because she'll kill them.
Yep.
So that is a pretty huge pressure on her to stay alone no matter how much she would feel passion towards somebody like Remy or somebody. And even Logan, I think you've got a crush on Jean, but she likes
Huge.
Cyclops.
That was the end of his
Right?
everything for him.
Right.
And Yuriko, who turned into Lady Deathstrike eventually, but how can he pick women, can he?
I know.
Even that, and in the comics and the movies, every time he would fall for somebody, an old enemy would come from the past and kill him.
Yeah.
So it's like, well, okay, I'm never going to be happy.
It's
And
like, hello, anybody home up there? Leave
the
alone.
the episode Cold Vengeance was, I actually watched that last night, and just the fact
Can you
that
remember that one? I don't.
Code Vengeance was-
Code Vengeance. I
Did he
don't
go up
remember that
north?
one.
yes,
Yeah.
that was where
Okay.
he was with the Eskimos.
That's
and
right.
Oh.
I love that one. That's
And he-
Okay.
he-
that's actually
that
the
your
episode
favorite
where-
one?
Well, no, it's not. That's I like them all, but I do have a favorite. But that's the one where the chief, I think. That's not where he's fishing with the guys, is it? Oh, is it? There's another one where he's with a bunch of Inuit. I don't know if they're Inuit or not, but where the chief says to him, something, my friend. And the episode ends with Wolverine full bore. It's no tear, but close. He just said, "You call me friend."
Oh,
the episode ends like that.
Right.
No one called him friend.
That was Cold Vengeance because
go ahead.
he had helped them. Yeah. He was going to help them rebuild their village because Sabretooth had come in and destroyed it.
Yeah, did his thing.
But they were going to move to the city, but he had come to peace with it and had talked to them, and they were like, "Oh, we're going to move to the city," and he did. They were friends at that point. So I felt so bad for the character because he realized then that I'm never going to be happy because somebody's always going to come along to screw it up for me.
Yeah.
Always.
And he had taken the mask off, of course, and he didn't want to put that on, so he was just being one of them and helping the poor guy that used to be their hero, and that's when he's pulling in the fish and the water and all that stuff. Yeah.
And the other guys.
That's the only episode, by the way, that he laughs in ever, because I've been watching them all, trying to get some history, and he actually laughs when he's pulling the net up and says like something.
He was like, "It reminds me of the one that got away."
Yeah.
I love it. I'm over here trying to do. It's not working.
Yeah.
You're a lot better Wolverine than I am.
Thank you.
And so, what was your favorite episode?
Nightcrawler.
Okay.
I love the episode with
Really,
Nightcrawler.
that was like season 3, maybe. It was on into the series, Nightcrawler, because that was where he really.
Different eyes, Logan. Different eyes.
It was.
And again, it ends up with Rogue at the back of the chapel in France.
And he's like
the newspaper hits her in the face. She's walking. You leave Gambit.
Right,
you leave Cajun sitting in where he should be by himself on the street. Guys have been eating, have a cafe or something, and you're walking towards the chapel.
Yeah.
And a newspaper hits you in the face, and you pull it down, and it's like just opening since they were fixing up the chapel, and you walk in and they open the door, and Wolverine's kneeling down in front of the altar, reading from the book that Nightcrawler gave him. And I will always see, and he's reading it. Mm-hmm. And then the last thing you see is they zoom to the back of the church, and there's a tear rolling down Rogue's eye, and it goes to black.
Right.
And I just loved it. So
yeah,
it
that's
just showed
beautiful.
a lot. That showed him Wolverine's bitterness at religion, like, so what's your God doing now for you? That kind of stuff.
That was something that didn't get tackled a lot back then. In
no kidding.
cartoons.
No kidding. And the kids, they're like 8 to 10, 12, whatever, are watching this. This is all really good for them.
Yeah.
To experience all the stuff that this show addressed and all the.
You learned a lot of lessons.
You sure did.
At an early age, because I think when I watched this, I discovered the cartoon in '93, and I think it had been out for about a year at that time. And I was 9 years old, Lord.
I was 13 then.
No, yeah. With that voice.
Oh yeah.
You were an early bloomer.
Oh, I was so.
Oh man.
And my favorite one was A Rogue's Tale, of course.
And that is the often referenced episode where her and Carol Danvers.
Yes.
Correct.
Yes.
That episode has almost caught new life because of the current Captain Marvel movie,
Yeah.
and a lot of people are referencing that as, people are wanting to see that story in the movies now.
Oh yeah.
They want to get rid of Carol Danvers already.
That is true, but Carol Danvers in the comics, came back from that.
Right.
They kind of allude to that at
Right.
the end of the episode, that she's slowly but surely she kind of cracks a smile while she's in a
Yes,
coma.
that's right. Yeah, but it's a very touching episode, that one, because you get Rogue's backstory.
Yes.
When she gets booted out of her house by her dad, when he finds out that she's got these mutant powers.
That was one of the
Right.
first scenes of a cartoon in my life that literally made me cry. I felt so bad for her getting thrown out by her dad. She
Right.
couldn't help it.
I
Like
know.
I'm starting to get kind of misty-eyed right now,
Right.
But yeah, that was an episode that really spoke to a lot of people, I think.
I think so. And I think that even today, a lot of kids who run away from home or are kicked out by their family, or they just feel they don't belong, it touches them and it speaks to them. And, the scene where she's sitting up on the rooftop watching out, and she's got cross-legged, and she's just looking out, trying to think of where she should go and what she should do and why is she the way she is. that really touched me because of all the history that I really have, as I said. And then, and also the stuff with Carol Danvers and the fact that Mystique then used me to kill somebody, and then that's how I got my ability to fly. So it's again, it's a very different problem to have, where if you do something evil, bad to someone else, but then it makes you stronger. Part of the whole beauty about the X-Men is that it's like a choice. You can choose to go one path or you can choose to go another. And many of these characters are like two sides of the same coin. They're brothers, or they're, sisters and brothers, and one has chosen to go towards the path of destruction and the other chooses the path to try and help people make the world a better place. And that's why I think that particular episode is so important for Rogue. She chooses good.
I was talking about Beast in the series had a very limited exposure in the first season.
Yeah, they
What-
put me in jail.
I mean, you popped up maybe 3 or 4 times, in jail, and then right there at the end of season 1, they released him because Kelly, I guess, was like president-elect and, had freed him. Well, he was still a senator at the time. But Beast had a lot more prominent role going forward.
Yes, he did.
What was the reasoning
Well, the
behind...
rationale for keeping him in jail was that Beast was trying to make a political statement. Like, when he lets the other X-Men out of prison, he simply goes up to the bars, opens them, and says, okay, off you go. And then he closes them back up, picks up his book, and continues reading. Which shows that at any given time, he could have just walked right out of that prison and nobody could have done anything. But he was trying to make a political point, and a moral point. Well, that the reason that he was in jail was totally wrong.
Right.
And that the way to show that, to respond to it, was not by tearing the jail apart and killing everybody, but to sit there and, through the process of the legalities and everything, to show that he was being persecuted because of being a mutant, and that that was a social and civil wrong.
That is true, because if he would have left, he would have automatically looked like the bad guy. And Beast always excelled, as you said earlier, through diplomacy.
That's right.
And using his brain and not necessarily brawn.
And in the end, he is released after a trial,
Right.
after due process. He is not.
Actually-
he doesn't actually break out, but he goes before the judge. Or do they break him out, or
No, he's granted a reprieve.
I think I just watched this too. We all showed up and said, "Beast, you're out of here." And
Yeah, yeah.
So he was granted a reprieve?
Yeah, Kelly, after the events of the final episode in which they saved Senator Kelly, he used his influence as a senator
And of
to
course you jumped down because you were upside down.
So in some ways it sounds like he's like Martin Luther King. Because I was just reading, because I'm down here in the South, I was reading some of the history over the last couple of nights, actually. And in it, Dr. Martin Luther King and some of his people that worked very closely with him said that they tried to set it up in some ways to push certain people to be able to actually arrest people and put them in jail, so that it would make a statement, so that they could make a statement with it and show the injustice of society. So that makes a lot of sense. Yeah.
Also, there was a fan reaction to the fact that all of a sudden Beast disappeared from the action, and they decided they were going to let him out of jail and put him back into the show, which I was very appreciative of, because, quite frankly, I was out of the job for those episodes, and
When you weren't showing up
when
in
I
diapers
wasn't.
as a foreigner.
That's right.
I love, because I pretty much, I went through and I binged all of season 1 over the last couple of days, and it's just neat because it almost seems like we're actually doing, for all those watching at home, we're doing a panel on Sunday where we rank our X-Men season 1 from number 13 to number 1, our favorite episodes of the season. And to me, it almost seems like from the very beginning, the beginning, it's famous for being wrought with production issues and animation problems and stuff, the first couple episodes. The quality of the show, at least visually, really just took off from the first episode to the last in season 1. You could tell there's a marked difference between episode 13 and 1. And because there's actually a time, I think around episode 11 or 12, where they show some clips from episode 1, and it looks like a whole other cartoon. It's like a flashback, and I'm like, whoa, that's crazy.
Oh, wow.
I think in any
I didn't
series,
realize that.
the first episode will look vastly different than from something farther down the line or in another season, because everybody finds their voice, everybody finds their character and where they're coming from, and becomes much more fluid. The first episode of any series is kind of like choppy.
Very tenuous.
Yeah.
Because I've heard the first episode or two really. We're about to wrap up because I can see y'all are starting to have visitors. I don't want to keep you here all day as much as I would like to. But yeah, just from me to you all, this, I was a big Ninja Turtles fan when I was in like kindergarten, first grade. But from third grade to now, I've been an X-Men fan. And
Right on.
the number one reason for that is the cartoon. Like, you guys are a part of, honestly, if the X-Men like going back in time, if something had happened and X-Men was not a cartoon in 93, I wouldn't be doing this channel.
Right. Really?
Yeah.
Wow.
That's how much of
That's awesome.
that's how much of an effect it got me into comics, and from comics I started getting into all the other stuff, and it was a snowball effect. But
Wow.
it is, like, I'm sure you guys hear, oh, you're my heroes and all this, but you guys you did
Not enough.
you,
What did you say?
Not enough.
No,
What did you
I
say?
don't know. What did you
here-
say?
you all are part of a group of people who had a very, very solid effect on me and kind of set my life in a different direction
Right
than what I
on.
was probably going at 10 years old. So, I mean,
Awesome.
it was.
That's wonderful.
Fantastic. Thank you.
So
We're
again,
pleased to hear that.
we're gonna wrap. You can meet all three of them, among others, here at Metrotham Con. This is Friday, March 22nd, but we will be here. Everybody will be here. Y'all are going to be here all weekend.
Yeah, oh, yeah.
Okay.
Till the end on Sunday.
Saturday and Sunday.
All day
yeah.
Saturday, all day Sunday, and a little
we
bit
take
more
off.
today. And then y'all
And
are
the Blackbird.
Y'all-
Off we go.
Yeah, we're here till 7, both nights, and then Sunday till 5.
Yeah.
okay. So y'all are, after that, you guys are going back to Canada.
Yep.
Yeah.
Okay, so you-
I go back to being in government in Nova Scotia. I'm a politician now.
Really?
Yes.
Okay.
I'm
wouldn't
like
be-
a congresswoman now.
We sent her there just to get her out of Toronto because she
No.
was trying to take over Toronto, the whole city.
I wouldn't be doing
We
my
need-
job.
We need more X-Men in government.
I wouldn't
Yeah.
be doing my job if I didn't ask what exactly you're doing.
So I'm like a congresswoman.
Uh-huh.
So in the States, I would be called congresswoman.
Okay.
In Canada, it's called member of the Legislative Assembly
Cool.
in Nova Scotia. And I've been there doing that for 10 years now. So
Okay.
fighting for like women's rights, for the environment, for the creative economy, to try and get governments to put more money into the creative economy, all of these kinds of shows and movies, theater, dance, art.
We need you here.
Right, exactly, right. So it's a lot of work, and also like
Taker.
First Nations, people's rights, diversity, all those kinds of things. Social justice. That's what I do. That's what I'm there for, to fight for that.
I
And
love
I
it.
wouldn't
Yeah.
get in her way.
Because that actually, even
Right.
though we are a nerd brand, that is one of our principles that we do fight for, because believe it or not, in the nerd community, there is kind of an anti-social justice movement.
Really? Wow. That's too
Yeah,
bad.
there's a reason I have this button here that says Comicsgate is a hate group. There is a movement.
Really? That's a shame.
But we're not going to give them any spotlight here.
No, we
so-
aren't. These boots were made for walking, and that's just what they'll do.
Thank you all for coming on. It's
so welcome.
really been a pleasure. This is one of those like really cool interviews that I've wanted to do for
And
years
how about
and years.
if Ro gives you a little
Oh,
Peck on the cheek.
Now he's gonna die.
Just to
This is
end
where
it
you
all
cue
up.
the fade and faint.
Yes.
Yes.
thank you for that. That
Bye,
was neat.
y'all. Come on,
Just for the
come on
record.
down and visit us.
Yep, Metrotham Con, Saturday and Sunday. We're going to be here for another 2 days. Come by and see us. Well worth the price of admission. You get to see some of your childhood heroes. Come see us again. I'm Lonnie with Untitled Nerd Network, brought to you by. Do they allow? They
Or
don't allow.
iced tea, sweet tea.
Yeah,
I
there
love
we
that
go. There we go.
tea.
Sweet tea. I can make you some good sweet tea.
I love sweet tea. I've fallen in love with Tennessee and Texas. I want to come back.
Love it.
Yeah.
I'm Lonnie with Untitled Nerd Network, brought to you by Infinity Flux, out of Hickson, Tennessee. Go by and see them. I'm going to have to go and see
See y'all
them.
later.
And we're here with Cal Dodd, Lenore, Zann, and George Buza. I got the names right. Yay.
Friend.
We'll see you all here at Metrotham Con this weekend.